Oh, did you miss us? Did you think we weren't coming back? Did you think we got canceled? We're in movie mode. What up, buddy? How are you?
Uncancelable, Ryan. No one can take us down. We're a beast. We are a lot to be truffled with. That's not the word. I'm great, man. It's been a very adult week for me. I've been on and off blood pressure meds. I've been working outside a lot. Got stung by some sort of insect tonight. So doing adult things, but not the good adult things, like the bad adult things. How are you this week, Ryan?
Also, adult things, thinking about politics, being depressed, not having money, just all the adult stuff. And, it's been pleasant, very pleasant. Honestly, it's almost like the last 2 weeks of my life have been the worst since we started the podcast. And I genuinely think that's true.
Is that because we took a break, Ryan? Is that what it is?
I don't know. Chicken or the egg. I just think it's a coincidence.
Okay. I'll take that.
Let's explain what the hell happened. First of all, I owe you an apology. This is an apology I've owed you for about 2 weeks. So,
all right.
Think back, guys. We were not headed into like physically, meaning we were in the week that Borderlands was premiering, and I posted on YouTube that our episode of Trap would be delayed because we didn't care about Borderlands. So my apology is that I spoke for both of us, and that wasn't fair. What I should have said was, I don't care about Borderlands. Austin probably doesn't either, but I should not have insinuated that you were not going to see Borderlands. So that was my fault. Maybe we both didn't care, but it was more of I chose not to see it, and you did. But you told me that and we can talk about it, but you told me that you didn't have a great time, great experience physically with that.
No, I didn't even say this in my review. I walked out of Borderlands and threw up. Now, I didn't throw up because of the movie necessarily. I was, again, it's been a rough last couple of weeks, man. I've had some migraines, blood pressure on and off. Again, 30-year-old stuff. I'm not quite there. I'm close. But actually, that shouldn't be 30-year-old stuff. I shouldn't be having blood pressure problems at 30 anyway. But I walked out and threw up. Now, the fact that the movie was shite didn't help. I think if the movie was good, maybe I could have held it until I got home. It was bad. It was really bad. And I'm glad we didn't devote, even though I had so much to say, to be honest with you, I'm glad we didn't devote a whole show to it, because frankly, it would have been a waste of my time and your time and everybody else's time. You know why? Because no one saw the movie. No, this movie bombed. First of all, it bombed the moment the first trailer came out, but it bombed so hard. I actually haven't seen a movie like this bomb this hard, both critically, financially, with audiences. I mean, even the cinema score was dreadful, in a long time. This is like early 2000s stuff that we don't get anymore. So the fact that we didn't have a show on it, it's not hurting my feelings. I don't think it's hurting their feelings either.
So I don't know. When I was doing Film Beef was the very first podcast I had with my friend Phil Wilson almost 10 years ago. I'm approaching my 10-year anniversary of content creation. The bad movies were often the most fun to review.
That's true.
We had some stinkers. That's for sure. Fan 4 Stick would have been in there. Insurgent. No, not Insurgent. Allegiant, whichever the last.
The Divergent. Yeah.
Let's see what else. The very first movie we reviewed was 3 Days to Kill with Kevin Costner. It's a guilty pleasure, though. I think very fondly of that movie because it was the first movie I ever reviewed on a podcast.
Okay.
And actually, it's the only movie period, that I've reviewed twice on a podcast because I did it to reboot Watch Diary.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I rebooted Watch Diary when I was in Tucson, and I just thought, how fun would it be to review 3 Days to Kill again? So I did. So I've seen that movie twice. Yeah, a lot of stinkers in my day, but there's something about Borderlands, and we can definitely talk about it, but there's something about it that I still agree with you that it just didn't need to be seen by anybody. So anyway, yeah, we got a lot to catch up on. We didn't podcast last week, and that one was on you. So I did my apology. Now it's time to do your apology. No, I'm just kidding.
No, that was absolutely me. It was we're one more, what is it, 2-3 strikes now? I guess it should have already been, but we're one more strike away from canceling MetroNet and going to Spectrum. If you all don't know what MetroNet is, they pitched themselves to me as the best internet in this region of Kentucky because they have fiber, and fiber's great. And I love when the internet works, it's great. Problem is, last several weeks, and this happened to us a couple weeks ago. Thankfully, it didn't impact the show. But this time, literally the night we were going to record, I think actually the night before, it just stopped working. And it didn't start working again. And I was gone the next day until later the next day. So the first time I went 3 days without internet. The second time I went almost an entire day without internet. And both times, the same guy came and worked, said everything's good, nothing else is going to be a problem. And I drove by a MetroNet truck tonight, 2 neighborhoods down, and apparently a couple of those houses are out. And so I'm like, am I going to have to switch, man? And so that's the reason why we didn't do last week's show. And we just said, we're going to wait till Alien. We'll talk about everything. Alien's the big go-to event this weekend. And I'm kind of glad we're waited because I think people started to miss us, Ryan. I got a couple of comments on my videos. Even this morning, I got a comment. Somebody's like, hey, did you all quit doing movie mode? And I'm like, no. We're coming back with a vengeance. We're going to cover Alien, and hopefully no more long breaks like that because I missed you all. Ryan, I kind of missed you. But you all, I missed you all a lot. So there we go.
No, I missed everybody. I did. I kind of wanted to talk to you about planning breaks like that because there were positives to it as well. Just taking a break and not rushing to the theater, not worrying about when we're gonna get together. We got a lot of stuff going on in our lives. I've never had a podcast with another person with like planned breaks like that. And I think if we're gonna start live streaming,
it's true.
It might be nice to just plan like, hey, every 3 to 4 months we have a planned break depending on what movie we may or may not care about that's being released that week, or we just get to it another day. I don't know. That's an off-air conversation, but it just kind of reminded me.
Hopefully at that point, there are so many shows every few days on the channel. You guys will have some stuff to catch up on. It's what we're hoping for more often than once a week. But yeah, definitely. If we start streaming and doing live streams, we're definitely going to need breaks. Otherwise, the blood pressure problems, it's going to keep spiking out of control. So we'll need some breaks then.
All right. We have not talked about all kinds of things. What about, just real quick, not that I have a take, but how fun has this, actually, it was fun. I don't think it's fun anymore. How interesting is this Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively, It Ends With Us drama? That's all over.
Goodness. What in the world, man?
I mean, so I don't even know what to make of it because I've gotten this information in pieces out of order. So I guess the last thing I read was that he hired a crisis team a PR crisis team to help him with whatever situation he might have gotten himself involved in. I don't know. Am I on the right track here? Do you know anything about this? What's going on?
I actually didn't know about the crisis team. So that's new to me.
It's like it's like this whole thing where like, we learned that Blake and Ryan apparently rewrote some of the lines in the script, and they haven't done any press together. So I just thought it was like dumb drama. Like a guy was mad at hotshot Ryan Reynolds coming in, changing his movie, or maybe he said something inappropriate to Blake Lively. Yeah. I just thought it was like normal conflict.
Hollywood beef.
But he hired a PR crisis team that I can't remember whose it was. It was like the one that previously helped Johnny Depp or or Mr. Beast. I don't know what it is. So one of those.
Jeez.
So yeah, it keeps unfolding before our eyes. But I was just fascinated by it because it at first was like fun drama to the point where like people were just like making all these videos, nitpicking press junket videos and things like that. And even friends of mine that I know that have like don't follow this kind of stuff because it oozed over into TikTok. They were all into it and telling me more about it than I knew.
Yeah, I've seen some videos with Blake Lively, and it's like, because this has happened, people are going back years in the past and pulling out interviews and things that Blake Lively has said and done, and everybody's like, "Ooh, the way she's acting and this and that." And I'm like, "Oh man, this has really went off the rails." But yeah, I was shocked. So was it that he said he had back issues? Is that what it was? And he couldn't lift her or something, or he asked how much she weighed? Was that the issue there?
I saw that too.
Or was that a different thing?
He had, I don't know. But I read that too though.
Okay.
He had some kind of issue with his back or his knees or whatever, and he had to pick her up. And then he asked one of the crew members if they could tell him how much she weighed or something. And it's like,
okay.
Why is that something that we know in the public? Like who cares?
Or care about? Why is that something we care about?
But I honestly, I'm fascinated sometimes when I think about what sets are actually like nowadays.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming, depending on the set, a lot of this stuff is a lot more like free, because there are sets where there are more like I guarantee that Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman could get away with some fucked up shit.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
And with Jennifer Garner as well, because they all have a rapport. Yep. And like, I'm sure that kind of set is totally different
for sure
than what this movie was. So it's fascinating to think about that kind of stuff.
So what's the dynamic like in real life then? If they're going to this level of going up against each other, like, were they just super awkward on set? Did they not talk on set? I mean, they did that little interview thing with Ryan Reynolds, so it looked like they were having fun ish.
I think that Ryan Reynolds was involved with this movie, and I think something happened with this dude where they kind of felt like he wasn't a great character, or he didn't have great character, even though he was the director of the movie. And so there was this thing where like they refused to do press together. She didn't want to do press. And then it was kind of like, oh, well, let's distract everybody by putting Ryan Reynolds beside her and Hugh Jackman. And it'll be like a thing where Deadpool's supporting this movie now. And like, let's try to get away from all this. But the internet did its thing and TikTok did its thing, and more stuff is coming out. Like there was a video, I saw a TikTok of just some random girl in an airport, and she stopped Justin Baldoni. It was like, "Oh my God, are you famous? Like who?" Like recognized him, and she said something like, "Oh, I've seen all these TikToks about you," like right to his face.
What'd he say?
And he's like, "I don't know, is that me?" And he was just like playing dumb, like just pretending like it was a normal fan interaction. But I mean, how absurd is that? I mean.
But if you look at the opening weekend of the movie and how much, which granted, it was based on a book, and I've heard a lot of Madison has a lot of her friends that were dying to go see that movie that weekend. So it was already going to make money. But I don't think the bad press has been as bad for the movie, because I think it's sparking even more interest than just book readers.
Oh yeah.
So no bad press is what's the saying? I mean, it's all
press is good.
All
press.
press is good press.
No such thing as bad press.
Yeah,
Whatever.
it's all coming together to make for what might end up as a top 10 box office earner of the summer, which I had never heard of this movie. So I think that's fascinating in itself.
Yeah. All I got from that was I should make more nerdrotic videos.
Dude.
Speaking of like random out of the pocket movies, this the Channing Tatum Zoe Kravitz movie is apparently like something that should actually be taken seriously. I saw that there is some division on it today, but I also saw that like it was like definitely worth checking out. So, what have your feelers been out for this movie?
Yeah, I had a screening for it Tuesday. I didn't go because I've had the baby all week and dealing with some dad things. But I got a text after it was over, and the person said, "Better than I thought." And I'm like, "Oh!" And then I saw Matt Neglia, whose opinion I respect and sometimes disagree with, but he said it was really good. And so I'm like, "Oh, all right." So that's when I kind of take a movie seriously, when I start seeing some more high-profile critics give it some love. So yeah, I'm interested. Was this the one that was called Pussy Island? Or
yeah, something
Pussy
like that.
Land?
Pussy Patrol or Pussy Pop or whatever the fuck. Yeah,
Pussy Pop. Was this Pussy Pop?
Yeah, this was Pussy Pop.
Okay.
And then she said that she wanted to take back the word. So she wanted to put it in everybody's face and take back the word for women and things. Nice. But it was, and guys, this is a great lesson. Women were actually the focus group that rejected the name.
Really?
How about that?
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So she decided we're not there yet.
That's a shame.
But it's okay. You can hear the word on Night Show Speed's Twitch account, or I don't know.
I like Pussy Pop. That's a nice name.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, but that's what that is, though. So I'm actually excited to. I don't know what are we doing next weekend. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but is that something that we should do next?
Yeah,
weekend?
I'm going to see it. We're in the Tatum Sance, the Channing Sance, the Channing-sance. Yeah. We're in that right now, so I'm in a Channing Tatum mood. I'd like to go check that out.
You know, Channing Tatum's been talking a lot about Gambit, post Deadpool and Wolverine, and God love him. About a week after the movie, which I guess was like 2 weeks ago, hasn't been that long. There were a couple stories where he was just like, "Oh, I hope Bob Iger says yes and brings back my Gambit, and we do the Gambit movie." And I don't know. He was talking about all this, and I'm just like, Channing, come on, man.
We love you, pal.
Like, we love you. We loved it. We're good.
Yeah,
like
we don't need.
We're fine.
We don't
like
need
we loved it, and you know we'll have you in another Marvel movie. But your Gambit. But there was another interview that came out like yesterday with somebody, and then I had the exact opposite take, and I was like, you know what? I think we could see a Gambit movie.
Really?
I think it might not be like Gambit what Fox was going to do.
Sure.
But if they did like a Gambit and Rogue movie or something like that, I'd be down for it.
That's fair. Yeah, I'm still not there on a Gambit movie.
No, I get it.
I want to see him in other movies. Don't get me wrong. Put him in the X-Men, put him in whatever you want to put him in. It's just, I don't know if it's a shtick and it's a bit. It is a good bit and I loved it, but how long would that work? I don't know. I question it.
Yeah. It was the way he spoke, I think. I just came around. I was like, yeah, you know what? Let's do it for our boy. I'm upset, by the way. I meant to call our listeners out at the top of the show and I forgot. So let's just do it now. Right. None of you have sent me memes. Where movie characters appear in other movies.
Of course.
This, honestly, I didn't want people to send them to me at first, but now that I've got enough time and nobody's done it, I'm a little pissed. Because that should have been a movie mode thing.
I sent you one.
You all,
as soon as the episode was over, I sent you.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. There was one I saw. I think I bookmarked it. You know how I am about remembering to save things for the podcast.
I feel like your For You page just, it heard you say that, and I feel like it's shown you so many since then because you've seen so many. It knows you're angry.
Of course I don't have it. Of course. Hold on, I'll check my favorites real quick. But if you don't remember what we're talking about, I cannot stand posts where people act like movie characters, where actors aren't actors, but movie characters appear in other movies other than their own. I can't stand it.
I love it.
Oh, I'll just describe it. It was a picture of Channing, Gambit, and Wolverine and Deadpool and Wolverine. It's a picture of them together. And it said, but this isn't their first team up.
I saw that.
And instead,
I saw that.
And instead of posting Wolverine and Gambit from X-Men Origins, they post Channing Tatum in 22 Jump Street talking to that guy, the Mexican Wolverine.
I should have sent you that.
I can't stand that shit. It's so not funny. It's terrible. It's just putting pictures of the same actor together from different movies and just pretending it's the same character. It's just like, that is nothing. It's nothing.
I saw it.
I can't stand it.
I saw it, and the first thing I thought of was your face. I'm like, why didn't I send it to you? I knew you would have loved it, and I didn't do it.
I hate it.
It's so funny though.
There were a couple more that happened since we've been gone. Mm-hmm. This is a ridiculous podcast. We're just
ridiculous. That's all right.
I've been hogging too. Anything you've been wanting to talk about?
No.
Anything on your mind?
No.
Anything fun, or do you just want to review some movies?
Not at all. I have nothing. I have nothing in
nothing
my
on
life.
Nothing on Thunderbolts.
No. Giancarlo Esposito's character. What's his name?
Sidewinder.
That's it.
I actually have something on this,
right.
And I wanted to talk to you. And again, this was a tweet that I should have bookmarked, but I didn't.
Okay.
So somebody took a freeze frame. In some of the footage that we've seen in Brave New World, there's that fight sequence that takes place like in an underground bunker that's lit with blue lights, and it looks like there's the chairs that Bucky was tortured in. Yep. And he's fighting people, and there's a shot where Sam is on the ground and he throws his shield up above his face and catches somebody. But he's on a perpendicular plane, right? Do you roughly know what I'm talking about?
And I think I know where you're going with this too, because I think I saw this.
Okay. He's lying on his back. He throws his shield up, right? There's a very similar shot in the Thunderbolts trailer where the opposite is happening, and Yelena is on the ground looking down at someone, I believe.
Huh?
Or is she also on her back?
I think she's on her
Regardless.
back. I think she's on her back.
Okay. Regardless, somebody kind of said, I don't think they were insinuating this, but they just made the point that like they were both fighting similar shots, pretty much the exact same shot, but in different movies. Mm-hmm. And I got to thinking, Marvel has not done what Bourne used to do, where they used to like intersplice different movie scene, or I'm sorry, the same movie scene, but in different movies. And wouldn't it be cool if a fight scene between, and this is just an example, not literally this.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be cool if there was a fight scene between Yelena and Cap that took place in both movies?
Yeah, that would be sweet.
But we saw how they got there for different reasons, met up, and then left in each other's movies.
Cool. I love that.
We haven't seen that before, have we?
That seems so far beyond what Marvel would think of. Like and I mean this very negatively towards Marvel. Like that seems like such a cool concept that we'll never see it happen. But no, we've never seen anything like that. I mean, we've seen movies run up underneath each other and take place during the same time period. And obviously Avengers Endgame we saw the same scenes, but that's different, right? That's not two completely different movies with the same fight scene, but two characters are on their own individual journey. I think that would be brilliant. I think that would be absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, just think about how cool it would have been if, like, I feel like you could have done that with a lot of Marvel projects, just to show Marvel likes to tease their projects subtly. It's like that'd be a cool thing.
Yes, it would.
Like, if they decided to do a special presentation or a TV show about Cap returning the Infinity Stones, but you didn't know that they were going to do that, and then in an episode of like Loki season 1 or something, he like runs into Cap returning the stones or whatever. But we saw what Cap was doing from his perspective, and it like seeing Loki changed what he wanted to do in his movie, or like there's all kinds of different things. I remember seeing the Bourne Ultimatum for the first time in theaters, and when in the middle of the movie, halfway through the Bourne Ultimatum, you've realized you just watched a scene that you've already seen take place at the end of Supremacy.
Yeah.
It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life. It literally felt like a Marvel movie moment, but it was in Bourne Ultimatum, where I was like, oh shit. we're still in the other, like we were still in the other movie.
Yeah.
I was like, that's cool as shit. I mean, and you see that in TV series, right?
Oh, yeah.
There's like TV shows within one season, you kind of see characters meet up and then another episode picks up back up on it. But like from movie to movie, I just thought that'd be really cool for Marvel to do, to kind of ramp up the momentum of where we're headed, I guess.
Yeah, that would be sweet. I just hope they start, because I thought Deadpool and Wolverine, say what you will about it, and everybody online is saying what they will about it, but it was very creative in the way that it approached fight sequences and breaking the fourth wall, which you can do with a character like Deadpool, but I hope they take that creativity, and which they've already made these projects, but continue it in this new phase, approaching Doomsday and Secret Wars, because we don't want Doomsday and Secret Wars to feel just like Infinity War and just like Endgame. But it's the same directors and it's the same writers, and it's right. So we want it to be of that quality, but I want them to take a different approach and do something completely different. Now, Fantastic Four, Ryan. I think Fantastic Four, and that I guess is something that's happened since our last podcast. The entire Fantastic Four theme, and I think about 1 minute and 30 seconds of the Galactus theme has released, and combining those themes with the footage I've seen, with the images, and Johnny's suit hasn't been fully approved by everyone, but I think this movie is going to be super creative and feel distinct, very distinct from any Marvel movie we've seen, but most importantly, feel distinct from any Fantastic Four movie we've seen, and actually get the comics right. And so, yeah, if they can do a little bit of that combined with what Deadpool did this year, and if Captain America Brave New World is just okay, it just has to be at least okay, then we're on a roll, right? Because we've had X-Men 97, we've had Deadpool, and those two projects, then we're on a roll. So let's hope Fantastic Four is that next year.
The internet is interneting a little bit, and I feel like the more we get about Fantastic Four, the more people are hating on it.
I've seen, the suit, Johnny's suit, was a big topic.
But it's like that, but then they like confirmed today that RDJ's Doctor Doom is going to not take place. I don't know how to say it. His Doctor Doom is going to exist in that universe,
that world.
Which we kind of already knew that anyway, but I guess they confirmed it today or something. And then just people are like soured on Fantastic Four now, but it's because they were already sour on RDJ. I don't know. It just feels like less and less people are into what they're doing, and I just had the exact opposite take.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm still very excited about that movie, and I'm hoping, honestly, the most ridiculous. My biggest ask is that movie looks better than every other Marvel movie. I just want there to be actual cinematography. I really, really do. I just don't want it to look so ugly. I think. What do you think the best looking Marvel movie is as of late? Is it Guardians 3?
Yeah, I mean, Guardians 3 looked great.
There are parts of Wakanda Forever that are beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, even the first Black Panther. I mean, the third act's pretty ugly, but the rest of the movie is gorgeous. So beautifully shot.
See, I don't think it that much as it ages. I don't know. It kind of, and I'm not saying it's bad. I just it kind of just looks like every other Marvel movie. Like, but the ones that I think are like beautiful are probably Wakanda and Guardians right now.
I think Thor Ragnarok has moments like comic book frame moments, like where he's chasing the dragon. That's a freaking unbelievable shot.
That's my favorite shot in the movie.
It's unbelievable. It's like I'm living in I felt like I was living in a different world seeing that in the theater. It was unreal. And I think a lot of the Marvel movies,
I love that shot.
They have those shots, but I can't really think of one, at least as of late, that has just that consistent, beautiful. I mean, again, Guardians 3 looked great pretty consistently, but yeah, throughout the entire thing, it's a lot more rare now. And even back in the day, I mean, even the first couple of Marvel movies, they didn't look great, if that makes sense.
One of my favorite shots, one of the best looking shots, is that shot of Peter Parker standing in the rain.
J. Jonah Jameson.
No Way Home.
Yeah. The billboard.
That whole thing, it's like, where has that been?
Yeah.
This entire time.
Yeah. The billboard shot, man. That's and I said that too. I'm like, people that say John Watts, that he doesn't have the sauce. I'm like, he may not consistently, but that shot, that reminded me of Spider-Verse. That's a shot out of Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
Not a live action Spider-Man movie. It was amazing. And what happened in that third act of that movie where it's just a big gray slog? I get it. It was filmed during COVID, but it just didn't look good.
Yeah. All right. So we've got some movies to catch up on. I want to hear about Borderlands, and then we can unite for Trap, and then obviously get into Alien Romulus. I will go on and say we're probably going to do non-spoiler and spoilers for Alien Romulus, correct?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have nothing to say about Borderlands. So if you just want to do your thing, and we can move right on.
Yeah, no, I said it's going to take 30 seconds. It's a cheap, poorly put together Guardians of the Galaxy, to the detriment of that poor soul on Twitter. I'm going to make this comparison. Dungeons and Dragons ripoff, because that guy was so mad at me for making that comparison. Very obvious, in my opinion. Ripoff that did everything wrong. Everything. And it's not even to the point to where it's an entertaining bad. I think there's one really fun action sequence. Okay. So I'm going to give it its due when it deserves it. I think Kevin Hart's having a good time. He may be there for the paycheck, but he may have been like, we might as well have fun while we're making money. Because why not? Jamie Lee Curtis, I found it to be interesting what she said about the phase that Marvel's in. and then I watched her in Borderlands. I was like, what do you...
But you know what? Can she still be right about Marvel?
I mean...
Should she have said it?
No.
But could she still be right?
She could still be right, but the timing, man. It's like she could have said that a year ago. Or she could have said that 2 months ago. And then people would have been like, they would have never known she was in Borderlands because they didn't know the movie was coming out, even though it had already had a trailer, you know? But the fact that she said it on that, I think he was even on that press tour. Boy, talk about poor timing. Yeah, the movie sucks. I mean, it's just bad. It's just really bad. The action sequence towards the end is fun, but then her character, I don't even remember the character's name. Just something crazy happens, and it didn't make any sense. And maybe to the people that played the games, it'll make sense. I've seen people play the games. I've never played the games myself, but even then, you have to judge the movie you're watching, and within the confines of the movie I was watching, nothing in that third act made sense. And it went so far off the rails. And this sweet story about this young girl who's separated from her father, and he hires this band of misfits to get her back. it just became so stale after a while and so utterly predictable until it wasn't. And then it became stupid. And so, yeah, it's bad, but I'm not shocking anybody by saying that. It was bad the moment that first trailer came out because I knew what it was going to be. Now, granted, I knew what Dungeons and Dragons was going to be, and I was dead wrong. And so I was hoping I would be dead wrong on this, but I wasn't.
Eli Roth is this filmmaker that over the years, I think I was charmed by him because he was in Inglourious Basterds, one of my favorite movies of all time. And do you remember he was like the showrunner or the producer of like the second ever Netflix original series? And I can't remember what it's called right now, but it's like claim to fame was like this ridiculous like werewolf transformation that they came up with.
No, I don't remember that.
What is the name of that show?
He's done some weird things over the years. And it's funny what
not even Google remembers.
He's known for like horror and some of these movies that go overboard and things like that. And then he signs on to Borderlands, which just didn't make any sense. And apparently him signing on caused Craig Mazin to just completely say, I don't want my name on this. And that's the guy who did Chernobyl. And so that's not good. I think that's what sunk this movie as soon as that decision was made.
Yeah, Hemlock Grove. Oh. He was the producer and director of the pilot.
Never watched
and it was like one of the very first ever Netflix shows.
Interesting.
Behind House of Cards and what was that other one called? That was like Norwegian or Swedish or something. I can't remember. But anyway, I guess I was like charmed by him because he kind of seemed like he was like a rebel in Hollywood and was doing all of these interesting things. And the more time goes on, the more I think he's a hack. So I saw Green Inferno in theaters.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen that movie?
I have.
Yeah. I hated my life watching that movie.
It was not my cup.
But I don't know. I'm not an Eli Roth guy, so I thought I would be, but I'm not. Do you ever have like interesting like relationships with filmmakers like that where you're like, I'm going all in on this guy, thinking that he's gonna be something that appeals to you, and then you're just like, never mind.
not one particularly like in my head, but I've had that before where I thought a filmmaker was going to be on a hot streak or like nothing this guy can do can go wrong. Recently, Taika Waititi, I mean, everything he touched turned to gold. And then as of late, man, some of the characters he's played just super annoying. Like his role in Free Guy was terrible. Love and Thunder was a bust. And now I have this perception of him where 4 years ago, he was one of my favorite filmmakers. And so it's interesting how only one or two projects have completely flipped me on him. But I'm still rooting for him to come back. It's just the streak he's on is so cold right now.
I feel this way about Jon Favreau.
Oh, interesting.
Like I love.
What has he done lately?
I love a lot of Jon Favreau. He's done like modern day classics, but right now I'm kind of in this space where I'm like, are we sure he's good? like Iron Man, all-time classic. Elf. All-time classic. Yes. Chef. Incredible movie.
So good.
The Chef Show, one of my favorite Netflix shows.
Me too.
Is he the best person for Star Wars?
Don't you want to see him do more smaller? Because I feel one of the big appeals of Iron Man was that Iron Man was grounded, and it was a superhero movie, but it was one of the most grounded superhero movies I've ever seen. And I love Chef and I love Elf, that it's just a very simple story with a lot of good comedy. Like, why can't he go back to that? Why is it Lion King and Star Wars right now? Why can't he just go back to doing the things that I love him for, Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. He's in a weird spot too. He's not very flashy right now. I thought he was going to be like this rock and roll director. But he's not very flashy right now. Anyway, let's talk about Trap.
Speaking
before
of
this
directors.
movie completely leaves my mind space. I'll just go on and get this out of the way. I am in camp. Trap isn't good.
Oh, don't tell Twitter that. They'll hate you. They'll hate you for
This kind of thing it's not for me. I don't enjoy watching movies that feel like it's like otherworldly.
Mm.
It was like watching a movie like that I was high, but I wasn't high. I don't respond to just stilted dialogue, and I don't know if that's part of the point or not, but I don't enjoy that. And so I'm the guy that's like the writing was terrible, which means the acting didn't cut it for me because I don't buy that they're selling these lines at all. It's not natural. I don't think his daughter did a great job in the movie in general, let alone she never looked like a pop star on stage.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like watching a high school talent show. So it's like, okay, it wasn't well directed either. There are scenes, like literally just scenes. I wouldn't even say sequences. Scenes where I thought this is competent and exciting and fun and cool. I'm not a fan of this movie. I think the premise, it did not deliver on its premise. It could have been one of the coolest movies I've ever seen, but all of these other decisions, it doesn't inform. It's not something I'm excited about by any means. So I was pretty let down by it, to be honest.
I'm with you on the idea of it's not a good movie, because I don't think it's a good movie. I think it's 1/3 of a good movie, because I really liked the beginning. As overboard as some of the dialogue is and some of the exchanges that are just strange, it's almost like you're living in the head of this psychopath to where everything feels off, right? Every conversation, every one step ahead plan that's in his mind, every push down the escalator that happens, it's just like everything's off. And I liked that a lot. And the perspective of being in the mind of this killer we know he's the killer and we know they're after him, but it's a cat and mouse game, was awesome. And I'm like, oh, this could actually be one of the better. And I think, to be fair, it is one of the better Shyamalan films, because I just hate 4, 5 of his movies. I mean, hate them. I didn't hate this. But it really sinks in the third act. When they leave, well, really, the concert sequences are strange. They're not strange when you know it's his daughter. You get it. I get it. Whatever you want to call it, I get it. But they're strange. They take you out. But once they leave, it turns into just a schlocky, silly, ridiculous mess. It's like the movie didn't know what it wanted to do. And I find it so interesting that so many people are getting so defensive of this film online. It's a fascinating, like, treating Shyamalan like he's Nolan or something. And I respect the swing. I respect the swing, but it can be a swing and a miss, guys. Not everything has to be a hit.
I also, like, for some reason, I have this weird, like, I'm sympathetic to Shyamalan. I kind of feel bad for the dude.
He tries. Respect that.
Well, he does exactly what he wants to do. He finances all of his movies. You can call it a comeback, whether I respond to his films or not. Like, he might have had, I don't know what it feels like to experience what he's experienced as a filmmaker, to just come out so hot and then have such a far fall. It's got to be insane. But like, I'm sure it made him happy to involve his daughter. I'm sure he was just like living his best life. Like, honestly, so I feel bad, but I accepted long ago that what he's doing is just not always going to work for me. Did you ever feel like, first of all, no merch guy acts like that. I've been around hundreds of merch guys. There's not one like that. Second of all, did you think that law enforcement, they didn't act like law enforcement in this movie? Like,
Dude,
they are so not
incompetent.
on guard at any point. Like, they don't find it weird that this guy isn't dressed like one of the event security people, and he's like in the back getting coffee and donuts and a jacket. And then when he's on the rooftop, like
The rooftop
with the security guard on a smoke break,
Yes.
it's like that. Those could have been incredible scenes.
Yeah.
I did like the sequence where he's kind of going around. He grabs the walkie-talkie out of the bag.
That was great.
He puts a bottle in the deep fryer. It like all that kind of stuff was awesome.
Yes.
But other than that, yeah,
everyone in this movie is incompetent, and you could say it's meant to be that way, but then you could also say it's just not very well written. I feel like that's a very easy defense, like, oh, well, it was meant to be that way. Whereas if you don't like the movie, you're like, oh, well, it's just poorly written. It's like I could just say either one, and I'm not wrong, but I could say either one. But in this case, I genuinely believe it's just poorly written. Now, as poorly as some of these scenes were written, again, I did have fun with the movie, okay? I was entertained, and I didn't mind the removal from all reality at points, because I did feel like it added to the entertainment value. But yeah, there are too many problems with his daughter being in the movie, and then her becoming a main player at the end, which was just ridiculous, and how the movie ends and how it sets up for possible sequel, which was interesting. So I thought it was going to connect to like Glass or something. So at one point, because it was going so crazy. But thankfully it didn't do that. But yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's not.
I was getting shittier as the movie went on. I actually liked the idea of him. No, I don't want to spoil it. Has it been long enough? I'll just say that Josh Hartnett decides to do something where he turns the entire movie on its head.
Yeah.
Yes. To try to escape the concert. And I liked that. I liked that this was promising a new direction for the movie, and I was kind of interested in this new dynamic. But it didn't work. There was also a scene later in the movie, like towards the end, where he was trying to like beat down a door but didn't.
Yeah.
And I was like,
the bathroom.
He would have beaten down the door.
Yeah.
I was just getting shittier as the movie went on. I was just like, he would have gotten in that bathroom. Anyway,
and there's a scene where he leans down. I'll just say he leans down to get something or to touch a bicycle or something. And like everyone there lets him do it. And they're just so incompetent. Yeah. And I'm like, guys, you would all be fired. Like every one of you would be fired. It's just so, but again, it's just a very distinct reality that Shyamalan is or isn't living in while writing that movie.
I don't know. Maybe it's realistic because the Secret Service takes breaks to breastfeed their.
That's true. That is true.
I'm such an asshole.
The movie comes out at the perfect time. That's
right.
That's the perfect time. Yeah.
All right, let's do. Oh, that was almost Sean Chandler. Let's do Alien Romulus. Alien. I drove 2 states away to get a Blu-ray steelbook of Furiosa, and I didn't need to do that at all because I could have pre-ordered it online. That's right. Anyway, so let's talk about Alien Romulus. We're gonna do non-spoilers here at the top. We're gonna do spoilers later on. I'll warn you. All right, first impressions of this movie. Let's talk about what we all know. This looked incredible.
Yeah.
By the trailer. Yeah. This movie looked so sick. And I felt like this was this summer's last hope, and it was our swan song exiting August. Did you have those types of expectations for this movie?
Yeah, the trailer blew me away. I mean, I think Fede is a Great director. And so all of the precursors were there, like the cast, the director, the trailer, the look, the feel, the fact that it feels most reminiscent of Alien and Aliens of any of the sequels so far, post Aliens. And so, yeah, that all of that gave me hope that this would be a fantastic. I am considering this the summer send off. Even though there's technically a couple weeks left, this for me is the summer send off. So I was looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Where are you at with Fede Alvarez?
I like Fede. I think he's, for the most part, really delivered. Obviously lives in the horror genre, thrives in the horror genre. Part of me thought this movie would maybe be a little bloodier than it was. It was. Don't get me wrong. There's a scene towards the end when we get into spoilers that was pretty crazy and a little shocking. And just when I think the movie's over, it keeps going. But the first two acts, it's a lot of slower buildup, which I guess some of his other movies are as well. It wasn't as shocking as some of Fede's other films, but maybe that's just because we know what Alien is. And so, but regardless, I was encouraged to see him leap into a genre that he felt really passionate about, obviously. And you could see that just by the trailer for Romulus.
Yeah, I am a big fan of Don't Breathe.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, that's the only movie I've seen of his. So
Even
I
the
have
third
not
act?
seen his Evil Dead. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Good.
I don't know. I guess I'm a weirdo, but I saw that with my sister, and I was lucky enough to see this with my sister as well. But I Don't Breathe was such a fun experience to see with my sister, because she was scared, and I mean, it was one of those movies where you're not on the edge of your seat, but you're like pushing your body back into your seat, like like you're trying to get away from the movie almost. But that's the kind of movie that kind of premise and everything, it just balls the fuck out. That's what I've always said about Don't Breathe. Just absolute fun at the movies. I've always felt that way about the movie. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've rewatched it.
Oh, okay.
I've only seen Don't Breathe the one time in theaters, so
nice.
I wouldn't mind checking it out again. I never saw the sequel. I pretty much heard right away that it was terrible, but just I was such a big fan of Don't Breathe that was all I needed to know, was that Fede Alvarez was coming in to do this. I'm actually a big champion of Neil Blomkamp's Alien 5. I think it's an absolute travesty that movie did not get made.
Yeah.
And instead we got Alien Covenant. But anyway, big fan of Don't Breathe. That's all I needed to know. I know a lot of people are a fan of his Evil Dead film. I have not seen it, but stoked nonetheless. The trailer looked incredible. Let's talk about Prometheus real quick.
Okay.
Because Prometheus came at a time post Lost. I'm the biggest Damon Lindelof fan on the planet at the time, and he was writing the Alien prequel movie. That trailer with the squawking sound, the iconography, the look of it, it's gorgeous. I saw that movie and I loved it when I originally saw it.
Okay.
And that was like one of the first big, like, divisive movies in fandom to me, when I was starting to like take in this kind of content and this culture online.
Yeah.
It was one of the first things I remember, is how divided everybody was about Prometheus. And every time I watch Prometheus, I appreciate it more for different reasons, but I think why it doesn't work is more glaring to me. So I don't think it's perfect. If we like the term guilty pleasure, we'll call it guilty pleasure. I'm a Prometheus guy, though. I'm definitely not a hater. I find it super watchable regardless. Alien Covenant, I actually didn't like that movie was sort of marketed to erase what Prometheus is. It's such a course correction of a movie, which is weird because then when you know that and you think that, but then you're like, well, there's more of Prometheus in here than I originally thought. But I don't know how I feel about it, because it's like, okay, let's just put let's actually put what we were doing in Prometheus in an Alien movie.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I have not revisited that film either since I saw it in theaters. So I'm not the biggest Covenant guy, but there's a lot of rewriting of on Twitter of that movie. Where you at? Where were you? And how did you feel about when you saw Prometheus? And I don't know, what's your whole take on that going into Romulus?
Well, I've always been a fan of, obviously, the first two Alien movies. They're amazing. I'm an Aliens guy more than I'm an Alien guy. You always find people on the complete opposite side of the fence. And so, but at the same time, I was looking at Prometheus going, I'm cool if you just take risks, because I don't feel about this franchise like I feel about Star Wars or Lord of the Rings at the time. So Prometheus worked for me, and I've only seen it twice since, I believe, but I don't even feel guilty about liking it. I think that's a movie that just feels different from all other movies I've seen. I mean, all other movies. There's something about that is just so, it's its own unique thing, which is so cool to me. And it's so cool that it's not just an Alien sequel. You know what I mean? It's not just Alien 7, Alien 14. It's its own unique spin on the creation of a lot. And the references that he's using in all the biblical things that you can apply. It's just really cool, man. And so I was super pumped if they were going to do a sequel to see what they were going to do. Then Covenant comes out, and Covenant was fine, but kind of like you, I didn't love that it was marketed as a course correction. I didn't love that it was trying to essentially be a course correction while also being a sequel. And it just felt like an awkward mixture of the two. I do distinctly remember that ending when the ship's trying to take off and the aliens. That was pretty cool. So there's some cool moments in it. But again, I was excited to see just a different... When this initially was announced, I thought this was going to be, it's Alien 7. I thought it was just going to be another sequel. I didn't think it was going to have a unique style and a unique voice like what Fede Alvarez brought to it. Okay, it is an Alien sequel, what I had kind of feared, but it does some things that make it stand out and feel unique. Not on the level of what Prometheus did, but it just looks and feels so... Almost all of what I loved about Alien and Aliens is in here. And I'm not even talking about the nods and the references and the nostalgia things. And I have some issues with some of those things in this movie. But just the atmosphere and the aesthetics of the movie make you feel like you're back in that world. And for Disney, for Fox, whatever, 20th Century Studios, for them to do that and let Fede Alvarez do his thing for the most part, I think is great. And so just to start there, I think this movie looks fantastic all the way through.
Yes, absolutely. So Robert Meyer Burnett talks a lot about Steve Asbell, who is currently the head of Fox Studios, I guess.
Okay.
So he's been responsible for like this and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, cool.
And he seems to be like the way that R&B talks about him, he seems to be a really smart guy.
Yeah.
And he seems to be delivering. I'm trying to make sure that I got that right. President production of 20th Century Studios. Yes, Steve Asbell. So he's been crushing it.
Yeah.
So far this year, at least. I need to do some more deep diving into who he is. But Steve Asbell, the current president of 20th Century Studios, he's put out some bangers this year. And also, just real quick, and then I did want to talk about Alien a little bit more, but before going into this, but this year has been kind of amazing for legacy sequels and prequels.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as much as we complain about the recycling of ideas, like with Furiosa, Twisters,
yeah.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Alien Romulus. I mean, franchises are doing great this year. I mean, let's include A Quiet Place Day One. I mean, honestly, I mean, not that has the legacy that these other ones do, but it's been a really good year for that kind of stuff. Like, I'm not gonna lie, if this is the quality we get, I'm kind of okay. Anyway, but to talk about the Alien franchise, these are not movies that I revisit often, but I respect them very much. The first one, the second one, I've only seen them like once or twice each, but I've seen Prometheus more than any of them. But I'm a big fan. I love the franchise. I feel about Alien sort of the way that I feel about Terminator and also Predator.
Okay.
In that I actually am super open to them doing really anything with any of these franchises. And that's something that I've always I've thought a lot about, because I think the most polarizing for fans, maybe it's not even polarizing. I think people have a hard time with Terminator sequels more than the other two franchises I've named. Because of how unfaithful or disrespectful to the Lord. I've kind of always been of the mind that a Terminator movie can kind of be anything.
It can.
And that's not to say, I'm not saying that all the Terminator sequels are good by any means. I don't think that. But I do think Terminator Dark Fate, I thought it was fun.
Oh.
Like, I didn't need it to be like this incredible movie or super faithful to. I just don't think that way about those franchises. And I get why people take issue with them. But even like Terminator Salvation, like I thought that movie was cool. Like it's just weird and unique. And I just think that's interesting because now, I mean, we'd kill for more movies to be done that way in some of our most iconic franchises. Just something like super creative and different, and just a far sharp right turn somewhere else. I don't know. I just think it's kind of interesting to do that. So that's why I've never really been that hard on Prometheus or Covenant, because it's like, yeah, I think like you can really do anything with it, to be honest. Even if you just want to keep making horror movies, like I'm good. Like it's just fun to see what else filmmakers come up with. It's because to me, it's not like tied to this like deeply entrenched canon or anything like it's not. I mean, it's not like it's Star Wars. Some people think it is. I mean, for the love of God, some people have a shirt with the Weyland-Yutani like logo on it, and it's like, really, like, okay.
All right.
Sure. But anyway, I've just always been of that mindset that I really don't ask a lot of these franchises. But anyway, that's been my thing. I mean, am I crazy? Or are you on the same path or boat, whatever?
I'm on a similar wavelength, especially with Predator. I mean, Predator is a franchise that you just keep doing, man. You do what you want to do. The most recent Predator I thought was awesome. So I was hoping this would be that, just like a distinct thing, but also a thing that has the things that we love, and not as much Terminator. I don't agree as much with. I just think the new sequels just lack a heart to soul, whereas Prometheus did something different, but kept that integrity that I really loved about the first two Aliens, which a lot of people would push back on that because a lot of people do not like Prometheus. But I do. I think it's a really good movie. So it's interesting to see how these franchises keep coming and keep coming. But one thing I am with you on with Terminator and Alien and Predator, keep doing it. Keep making them, because you can. Yeah. And there's so much you can do, and there's so much you can explore. And maybe you don't have to go back and change the timeline again. Okay, you've done that like 5 times. But you can keep adding on, and that's what's super cool about these offshoot franchises.
That's kind of what's interesting to me though about Terminator is I can't remember the concept or the theory, but it's like a quantum physics thing where it's almost like with every story it opens up like a new possibility or timeline.
Sure.
Like basically the point is every movie almost like intentionally or purposefully ruins the continuity to cause the next movie to happen. Like it's a actual like metaphysical concept. Like the fact that we just keep going through time and doing all this shit and changing it makes the next movie possible. And again, just to be clear, I'm not by any means like acting like they're incredible films. I actually do think T3 ages fine. I don't know why Nick Stahl is John Connor, but that's not. I don't have a problem with Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines. I really don't. I just think the only one that I think is outright bad is Genesis. But I can sit down and watch any of them.
The one thing I remember about Genesis is Mark Ellis called it Jenny Smith. That's the one thing I remember about that movie. Everything else, it's just utterly forgettable. When was the last Terminator movie, by the way? Have they talked about doing another one? 2016?
Yeah. Are you joking?
Have they talked about? Are you joking? Are they doing another one?
James Cameron just said that they're working on another one right now.
Oh, yeah. I had no clue. I had no idea.
Yeah. Because he's already gotten shit for it. Because everybody's already like, yeah, you said Dark Fate was going to be good too. But, so it's
interesting.
Like, nobody gives a shit. Nobody gives a shit. But I don't react that way. Every time they're like, oh, we got another one coming, I'm like, okay, maybe this one will be cool.
Well, and it's the franchise. I say it's the franchise that'll never die, but I don't say that in a bad way. It's the franchise that you can just keep coming up with stuff, especially James Cameron. I mean, if we're going to trust anyone here, we're going to trust James Cameron. And it's funny how he connects to both of these franchises that we're talking about. But,
absolutely.
I believe the Alien franchise is a staple in the horror world, a staple from start to finish. It's also just so cool how you look at those first two movies, how so similar they are, yet two completely different genres. Like how freaking cool. Can you name another horror franchise that just from the first movie to the second movie, completely different genres, or any franchise, yet feels like the same world with the same characters? Like, that's such a revolutionary idea. Such a revolutionary idea. And I love it, man. And that's why I was so excited for this new one, because it's like, what camp is it going to fall in? Is it going to be more of an action movie? Is it going to be more of a horror movie? I think Romulus is a lot of both. For me, it falls a little more, it's more similar to the first Alien than Aliens. But there are definitely moments towards the end with the weapons and with some of our characters and with the way that these battles and creatures, plural, all of that comes about, which I thought was just so cool. And escalating the stakes from the original two movies, but also keeping good characters at the forefront, man. Our main two characters here are our little android guy, and then, of course, Kaylee Span, she is awesome in this movie. The best possible. She's having a year too, by the way. Civil War and this, an awesome lead that I was all in on from the time she first comes on screen. And you get that little cliche backstory. It's like, all right, here's what we're doing. Here's where we're going. We don't care. Let's just get on the ship. Let's get to the place we're going. Get attacked by the aliens. Admittedly, Ryan, it does take a little longer for that build up than maybe I expected to get there, because we're about 30 minutes in and I'm looking around going, where's the aliens in the Alien movie? But when the movie ended, I'm like, I like that we got that, because we actually got some established characters, which was good. And you can't say that about a lot of horror sequels, to be honest with you.
Did you have a problem understanding the dialogue?
A little bit. This had a Tenet vibe to it, if that makes sense. Yeah.
So I saw it at a Regal RPX. You saw it in Cinemark XD, I assume?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there were a few characters with harsh accents that I couldn't understand, but overall, it was part of the mix.
Yep.
Where I barely understood anybody at any given moment. I just had to pull out like the key words. The plot or that wasn't lost on me.
Mm-hmm.
I just couldn't hear every single little thing. Honestly, I had throughout the entire movie. I kind of it was a little weird to me. My sister didn't say anything about it, but this movie is just like so. It's like Don't Breathe in the Alien universe. At times, it feels like a video game at times too, like in a great way. Very scary.
Yeah.
And I don't get scared at movies really. Very thrilling though. Character work, base level, surface level, but I didn't really care. It's not like I was asking for anything else on that front. I understand the arguments that we might want to, if we're going to like if there's going to be another one and we're asking the audience to go along with Kaylee Spaney's character, there probably could have been a little bit more, to be honest. I'm good with that, but I didn't need any personally. It was almost like seeing all this stuff for the first time, almost. I don't know. I thought it was effective in every way. And exactly how I described Don't Breathe is how I described this on my Instagram story. This movie just balls the fuck out. And I do not know what else can you ask for?
Yeah.
This has all the goods.
Yeah.
It's maybe the best movie in the franchise, second to your favorite, whatever that is between the first two. But there's one thing in this movie that Sidney Volpe highlighted, and we'll save talking about it until we break for spoilers. But there's one thing in this movie that shocked me that I didn't anticipate, and I think it's sort of breaking the fandom on how they feel about it.
It is.
So it's almost like one and a half things, though. I kind of expected something at the end to throw people off before the thing that actually threw people off. I'm trying to speak vaguely, but it ends up that this thing that is dividing fandom actually has like a lot more to do with the movie than people like First of all, I don't think they intended on it happening in the first place, but then it became a bigger part as the movie went along. I am indifferent to the story choice, but I have a different type of criticism later on. Okay. Have you been reading what the people are saying online?
Oh yeah. People very passionate. These are very passionate Alien fans. Some were comparing it to Rogue One in a very specific way. And then some are just blatantly saying it's the Rogue One of Alien. And I'm like, guys, Rogue One's great. Rogue One's really good.
That's what I was gonna say. That's a compliment.
That's a compliment. That's a really good thing. But I think a lot of it comes back to that very specific choice that they made that people didn't have as much of an issue with Rogue One, which was interesting. But yeah, I don't care, to be honest with you, about that specific thing being a big deal. It's just not as big of a deal to me. It's just there.
Yeah.
It exists. I don't love the choice. I think they could have done numerous other things, but I'm not angry at the choice. It's just a choice that did not impact my enjoyment one way or the other. I think that what that character represents is integral to the plot, and I think what that character represents provided a good antagonist of sorts, if you will. But the actual choice, I'm just like, all right, it's there. And so I'm just not as passionate. I mean, a lot of people, it's the alien passion people and this and that. And it didn't bother me, to be honest.
The other thing, too, going into this, I felt like all of the reviews from the early screenings, they were all rave, they were all hyped. But it wasn't until this week that people started to say the third act takes a big swing. And it was almost like people were divided on the third act. So I was like anxiously anticipating what that was going to be. And it's funny, based on this movie's structure, you think it's ended.
Yeah,
at a certain point.
Oh yeah.
And so you think it has ended and you're like moving along with just the final portion of the movie, the outro, if you will. And then you realize you're just now getting into the third act, which was so sick, so dope. No complaints about that.
Yeah.
But I guess I think I know what people are talking about. So there just seem to be a couple of things that have people completely divided that view what their overall thought is on the film. But I'll be honest, I loved all of it. As somebody who loved Don't Breathe, as somebody who is like a Prometheus apologist, as somebody who, of course, appreciates the first two Alien movies, it fulfilled its promise from the trailer. I think it succeeds as the last, sort of outing for the summer, if you will. I don't know. I just think it checked all of the boxes.
Yeah.
And I was excitable throughout the entire movie. I mean, I was squeamish. I was losing my mind. I was uncomfortable. My sister, it is the most stressed out I've seen my sister in a movie, I think.
Ooh,
like
nice.
We walked out of the theater and she kind of just had to stand in the parking lot for a minute. And she told me, she was like, that is the most like involved I've ever been in a movie ever. And so we stood there and I was just like cracking up because I couldn't believe it. I'll tell you off air, but she actually like dealt with something traumatic in her life yesterday. And she made the joke like this was worse.
Oh my God.
And I'll tell you about it off air. But, I thought that was so funny.
I like your sister already. I like her already.
But I was driving home on the way home. She was just texting me like, "Oh my God!" Here, I'll read some of her texts. I just on the way home, and I had already heard her say this a million times, like standing there in the parking lot, and like even when the credits were rolling, she's like, "I need a second," and we just like sat there. She said, "I can't fucking get over that. What the fuck just happened?" And I just said, "LMAO," and she goes, "That was actually fucking insane. My flabbers are gasted." And then I said, "You should watch Prey now on Hulu," and she said, "No, thank you, not tonight." She's like messed up. She's not gonna be able to sleep. But yeah, she was like so affected, and it was so much fun to see it with her. Again, we saw Don't Breathe together and had a similar reaction. So, but anyway, it's top 3 best theatrical experiences of the year for me. Whether it's my top 3 or not in top 10, but yeah, I just had a blast.
I'll tell you one thing. Good. I'm with you. I don't get scared. Jump scares, I don't like when they're cheap. Jump scares, even when they're good, they usually don't work on me. There was a jump scare in this movie that got me. It was
like almost at the very end.
Almost at the very end.
Yeah.
It got me. I have not been got like that before. Maybe ever in a theater like that. I have The Haunting of Hill House. There's a scare in that got me on TV. But in a theater, I jumped. I've never jumped like that. I mean, Hereditary, Conjuring, obviously. But dude, I was like, holy crap, Fede Alvarez, you got me.
Yeah.
Like I was just so tickled, man. I was thrilled because it just takes so much, and it wasn't cheap. It wasn't in any way generic. It was terrifying. Ryan, it was terrifying, dude. Like that's what you want. And I think this movie thrives off of the simplicity of just group of people versus group of aliens. Like that is so flippin' simple. Now, there's some things we'll talk about and some nods, some Easter eggs. Some of them work, some of them absolutely did not for me. But just the premise, how they executed that premise, the look, the feel. You know that video game Doom? It felt it felt like I was playing the video game with the guns. And I'm like, this is awesome, dude. Let me live here for an hour. And you kind of do, to be honest with you. Once it kicks in, it really kicks in. So yeah, I'm with you. The theatrical experience. My audience was actually reacting to a couple of things. Now, there was one line that I didn't love. That was a nod.
Me neither.
That they
I already
loved.
know. Me neither.
They loved.
Oh, really?
I didn't love. They go, oh, and I'm like, don't you clap at that. Dumb.
Yep.
We'll talk about it. But other than that, they were a good audience to watch things with.
And I just want to make sure that we double down on how amazing the visuals are, with the exception of one thing. This is maybe, it's like every other movie should be ashamed of itself. I mean, it's like what it said. It's like when I left Dune Part 2. It's just like there isn't a single flaw here. It's so good looking. Oh my goodness.
As a horror movie, Ryan, but also as a sci-fi movie.
I know.
As
like
a sci-fi
space
movie.
stuff.
Yes.
It's gorgeous.
Man.
God.
The rings of that planet, like when the ship is moving up, and I'm like, dude, this is, and I didn't expect it to be like that. I didn't expect it to be terrifying, but beautiful. That was so cool. Such a nice contrast.
Yeah. All right, we're going to break for spoilers now. So beware. All right, let's talk about it. Why is the deep fake of Rook so terrible? Why was it so bad? Talk about Rogue One.
Yeah.
Talk about Rogue One. That was 8 years ago.
And it was better. A lot better.
Yeah. I don't understand what that's about. Is it because we have the context of the first movie? Like, I wondered, is my sister picking up on this? Because she hasn't seen Alien, I don't think. I think she's only seen Prometheus.
Would that even bother her then if she hasn't seen? Because we've seen them, so obviously we know what to compare it to. It's bothering us, but would it bother someone who hasn't? You know?
I don't know, but I think it bothers me because everything else looks so good.
Oh my God, man, it's a beautiful movie.
It's just like we've seen better bad deepfakes than that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just don't really. I don't know what the excuse is.
Yeah.
To be honest, but the controversial part of that is just the fact that they included that character, correct?
Yes.
Is that what people are upset about?
People are upset that they included him and didn't get from his family's, like, nod of approval, whatever it is, and that character, something like that. I think,
like behind the scenes, they didn't do that.
I believe so. That's what I'm gathering. But I tried not to ruin it for myself. So I saw some of the frustration, but I'm like, well, what are they frustrated with? But I haven't had time since the movie ended to go actually look at what they're mad at. Even though, some of these trades, they're spoiling the movie anyway. They've already done spoiler reviews, so whatever.
I got a hint of this looking at Sydney Volpe's Twitter, and she expressed disdain. I do too, even though I don't know her. She expressed her disappointment in that, and people in her replies also were sort of affirming it, but they did a great job not actually mentioning it. And it kind of goes back to what we talked about with spoiler culture. They just talked about it without messing with other people. So I still never kind of, I had seen the movie, but I thought it was cool that I still was like, oh, I think I know what they're talking about here. But anyway, I don't care so much that they did it. I just wish it looked better, to be honest.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you because never in my wildest dreams did I think that they would do some hybrid with an engineer from Prometheus.
Yeah.
I had the biggest smile on my face once it registered what was going on.
Yeah.
And it took me a minute to understand what I was seeing. Because at first I was like, There's something in my mind that was like they wouldn't do that because that's like the ugly stepchild of the franchise, and it's like they purposely with the aesthetic went more like retro, futuristic, and dirty. And it's like they did all of the things to distance themselves. Again, kind of talk about a course correction, if you will. So the fact that they just straight up created a hybrid xenomorph engineer thing.
Oh.
Which for lack of a better term, I don't know what we're calling it on the internet yet. I was so excited for that. I thought it was so cool. And the first shot where you see it, where it's like walking through the entryway, and it like is terrifying.
Ooh, I got
it's
chills.
not even like it's not even close to the camera, but just seeing like hunched over, like walking into the room, man, I was beaming. I was having a blast. I could not believe what I was seeing. As a Prometheus fan, I was like, fuck yeah. That it's so great to include that. Anyway, I thought it was fun.
Well, I mean, that goes back to what we're saying about this movie being genuinely terrifying, which, again, I don't say that very often. That's been people criticizing me saying, Austin, you have to think something's scary. Yeah, this movie was scary. But you look at the imagery of that combination. Are people being bothered? Again, I'm trying to parse what people are saying online without actually looking at spoilers. Are they bothered by that? Do they not like that? Because people don't like the third act for some reason.
I don't know. I assume that people are mixed on it. And I knew when I was seeing it that this is something that's going to divide the fandom.
So weird.
I think in a way it's like the most Alien Covenant, if you will. Like it's such a harsh pivot. Like, oh, we're doing this here too. Like it's so weird to just ask someone, remember Prometheus when you're watching the end of Alien Romulus. Like
That's
it's
true.
odd.
That's
kind of like introducing a second David and having a flute fight or whatever the hell that was. Like that's such a weird thing to just have happen while you're watching an Alien movie. So I assume that that's what people are talking about, because no surprise, that movie's polarizing to the fandom.
Yeah,
I think there's been a lot of revisionists, like Prometheus is actually sick. It's been what, 11 years, something like that. But anyway, I could see that but I think they pulled it off. It was like so unusual and looking, and that's what made it scary to me.
If you're gonna go for a big swing in a movie that, for the most part, is, I wouldn't say Romulus is a huge swing. A lot of it relies on the love that we have for the original Alien. You gotta talk about the visuals and the visceral nature of some of it, and the fact that they lean heavily into a group of people versus a group of aliens, and running and escaping and showcasing that through beautiful cinematography, which is awesome. But if you're going to go for a big swing at the end of this movie, why not do something like that? That, to me, is so distinctly different from anything we've gotten in an Alien movie, and I love that. Now, hardcore fans and purists, are there Alien purists? There's a whole subsection of people I don't even know about. But if there are. Maybe they won't like that they're leaning into Prometheus there, but I find this to be the best of both worlds. I find it to incorporate things that we know, but something that an outsider like your sister, or when my wife watches this movie, she's not going to question it. She might ask me, what exactly is that from? But she's not going to be confused, because in reality, it's just another creature. But oh my God, it's an unnerving and horrifying and amazing to look at creature. And it just looks off. And that's the complaint that I've seen just before I got on here coming. Somebody's like, oh man, it just looks so, great. That's what we want it to look awesome. Like. Unnerving. And again, we're talking spoilers now. That jump scare where she is in space and you think she is just floating on right back up. Everything's golden. Everything's beautiful. This movie ends 4 times, and that was yet another, oh, she's good. Happy ending. Boom! Dude, I have chills just talking about it. That
Yeah, it was
scared
sick.
and his face was being ripped apart and he had the bubbles coming out of his skin. I'm like, dude, I everything about this is amazing.
You know what's even cooler about that jump scare is
Yeah.
that the shot is also sick as hell.
Oh,
because
yes.
there's like this vacuum effect to it,
Uh-huh.
and it kind of reminded me of some Interstellar shit. But there's like, I don't even know how to explain it.
Mm-hmm.
But as she's being repelled, it kind of just looks like it's going through a tunnel, and there's like this weird. I don't know. I couldn't
Yes.
even explain it well, but it was just like it was like one of those shots that gave you a sensation, like when
Yeah.
you were watching Interstellar. And then anyway, all of a sudden you get blindsided by a jump scare, and it's just like so sick.
It was so cool. Man. I mean, just from start to finish, that whole sequence was amazing. And what they did, now say what you will about the sound design throughout the movie and the fact that it was hard to understand some people's voices. That may vary per theater, but we both experienced it in different theaters. But what they did with the sound in space, or lack thereof, and how they applied that, which is a very simple thing, but again, they did it. It was great, and I think it worked in the third act's favor, big time.
Yeah. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the wonderful performance by David Johnson.
Oh, of course.
Who plays Andy, the android. Great job. What a surprise. Not only that actor, but that character. How fun.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about David Johnson. Just looking through his IMDb right now. Let me tell you, that is I wouldn't say a star-making performance, but it is the first of many, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That is he's going to be big. I can just tell from what he did in this movie.
The guys at The Ringer are huge industry guys. Okay. So I think now that season 3 is about to come out with Kit Harington, I might try to catch up on industry. That might be the next show that I watch.
Yep.
But yeah, he's in that. And there was something else I was going to mention too. I don't know. There's something about this that, like, look, I've never been like a diehard Alien fan. Like I said, I've only seen the first 2 a couple of times each. But this, like, lit something in me that makes me want to watch all of these movies again. I've never seen the 4th one. I know that it's universally the worst one, probably. Resurrection, the Joss Whedon one. But so this might cause me to watch it. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I'll pop on AVP, have some fun with that. I don't know. I might go down a rabbit hole. Maybe it'll be time to revisit Predator and all these things that we can have fun with.
Right.
What are you about to do?
Right when you said that, I got out of what I was looking at just now and saw Robert Meyer Burnett's tweet. Robert Meyer Burnett talk, everyone. He said, "I didn't expect Alien Romulus to instill in me a much greater appreciation of Alien Resurrection, but here we are. What a crushing disappointment. I'm gutted."
Oh no!
And Cody Leach responded with the ugh.
Oh no, Rob.
Oh,
amazing.
Wow. Again, I appreciate these movies. I think they're great, but I'm not like I don't have t-shirts with the name of the character number 7. Like, I'm not a hardcore fan, so maybe this is bothering hardcore fans, but dude, I don't get it.
Poor Rob. He has been looking forward to this movie for so long.
Really?
Again, cheerleading Steve Asbell. Like, he has been so pumped for this movie. I hate that it let him down. Crushed. I know that a lot of those guys, Film Threat, Chris Gore, Nerd Erotic, all these people, they're going to do like the Gen Z Alien movie thing. Which I get. Like, it's kind of weird to see this movie with such young actors, such young. It's not that they're just young, but they're young looking. Yeah. Like, they almost look too young to steal a spaceship in this type of environment.
Agreed.
Like, that'd be like a Star Wars thing, but just the idea that like some teenage looking people stole a ship in this like very serious world to like escape to another planet. But then again, like, isn't that a Gen Z thing that they all just like look younger than they actually are? But they're gonna age. They're gonna age much more rapidly than we did because they're more stressed out.
I said that about Kaylee Spaney in Civil War too. I'm like, this character looks young. Maybe it's just Kaylee Spaney, but she's such a good actor. It doesn't really affect me. You know, she's great. So good. She's so good.
Yeah, and like Isabella Merced, I mean, she was like Dora the Explorer 2 years ago or however long it was.
It seems like.
So anyway. Yeah. Oh, I forgot she was the kid in Day of the Soldado.
Oh, yeah.
Totally forgot about that. Anyway. Yeah, this movie's baller. Yeah. It'll be top 10 easily. I'm going to revisit the entire franchise probably. And I am more pumped than ever for the Noah Hawley series. Like, give it to me.
Me too.
Give it to me. Where are we at? Where are we at? So, I'm excited. Overall, legacy sequels have been strong.
They sure have. Sure have.
Yeah. How fun. Got anything else?
No, I got the popcorn bucket. Here we go. Look at that. Look at this little guy.
Romulusy.
The Romulusy. I can try to start sticking it in my other popcorn buckets. Look at this. How cool. It's so sweet.
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah. So shout out to Jacob, the Cinemark, for being awesome, hooking me up with what'd you call it? The
Romulusy.
Romulusy. I almost call it the Alanussy. Romulusy.
Like the Dunussy.
Yeah. It's beautiful. The hell's a popcorn?
All right. I hope that was worth it for everybody. What are you doing?
I didn't know where the popcorn went, but I found it. Here it is.
Oh, okay.
Look at that.
Did you just like have that sitting in the seat next to you the entire time, or did you get it after?
No, he was a firm. He was my +1.
Did we decide what we're doing next week? Are we going to see the Channing Tatum movie?
I definitely want to. Now, whether that's the headliner of the week, I don't know. Maybe we could at some point do a summer movie wrap up. We could do a summer TV wrap up. Whenever. I
think we could do the TV. We could do. I think it's time we rank the MCU as well.
Oh yeah.
Next week it's Blink Twice and The Crow.
Oh, The Crow. I forgot about that.
Woo. Okay, settle down. Jai Courtney is in a movie called
Why?
Shout out Terminator Jenny Smith. Aaron Moriarty from The Boys is also in that movie.
Oh, nice.
There's a Lily James, Joseph Gordon-Levitt comedy. Next week's weird.
Next week is very weird. I don't like it.
And then we got Dennis Quaid and Reagan that week. All right, that'll be our break week, August 30th. I feel like that's when we should take a break because the biggest release is Reagan, and I didn't plan on seeing that. Not that I have an issue with it. I just, not really.
Dennis Quaid.
I might watch it when it's streaming, but I would rather finish Dennis Quaid on Rogan because he was on Rogan today. So I'm a little bit into that episode.
I didn't see that,
but anyway, yeah, I think I would like to see a movie next week and then take our break. But then again, we can do whatever we want, guys. Stay tuned. It'll be a slow fall from here on out until we get to. Don't tell me Venom. Transformers 1. I don't.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of stuff that I'm just like, can we get to Joker or Saturday Night or
that looks good.
Or Gladiator 2. Anyway. Guys, we love you. We appreciate you. Tell your friends. Get us to 1,000. Austin's playing with his Romulusy. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.